We are all here on earth to help others. What on earth the others are doing, I do not know. W.H. Auden. Hello, this is Pat Coakley, and welcome to episode 30 of Podsnacks Art of the Diet, the weekly audio version of my daily blog, www.artofthediet.com. As many listeners already know, but for the benefit of any new ones, I document my daily challenge of the 7th year of maintaining a 60-pound weight loss on www.artofthediet.com. In my blog, it's all there, my story, the small and large victories, as well as some epic fails, along with short essays, rants, and raves about cultural, medical, artistic, and even corporate messages about this issue that everyone seems to agree is a problem, but few are able to offer reliable, long-term solutions beyond 1 year. Since I am starting my 7th year now of maintaining a significant weight loss, I've come to realize I'm a statistical rarity. National weight loss programs, as well as hospital-based ones, don't advertise their members with long-term weight loss records beyond 1 year. Why? Well, of course, they don't really tell you, but my guess is because the statistics themselves are not good. Everyone can agree that they have the program to help people lose weight, but few have the statistics to demonstrate that their program produces folks who keep it off beyond a year, never mind year after year. But I exist, and on the National Weight Control Registry, there are hundreds of others who have managed to do it as well. Although their website as well as research studies appear outdated, they nonetheless have individual stories listed of folks maintaining a weight loss from 1 to 66 years. Their stories indicate that half of them lost weight on their own, and the others use national or hospital programs. They write briefly 2 or 3 paragraphs about their story, and I've always wanted to know more about how they actually continue to be successful day after day. So it's my goal this year to bring some success stories to your attention and to mine. As all of us know, the focus in mainstream culture is either on losing weight itself or the disheartening statistics about how 90% plus regain the weight we struggle to lose. The complications of maintaining a weight loss seem always to be the focus, rather than some of the successful dynamics that can lead to success. There are very few stories about those of us who manage to do it year after year. And I wondered myself, after 5 years, why is it that I've been able to do it this time, but not previous times? I don't credit the national program I used to lose the weight, just as I didn't blame it when I was unsuccessful in previous attempts. So I began to document daily in 2015 on my blog and weekly starting in August 2015 in a podcast edition, what I did every day to ensure, or on some days, endanger success. But in 2016, I want to broaden the conversation to other people and highlight in this, the weekly podcast edition, what other successful folks do, regardless of what program they do or do not use, simply focusing in on what they do as individuals to navigate successfully these traditionally, at least statistically, doom and gloom waters of long-term weight loss. And today's the day for my first interview with Melissa. a woman as articulate as she is determined, and I think you'll recognize yourself in many aspects of her story. All I know for sure, starting this 7th year, is that each person finds their own path, and there's no fast-track addition to weight management. Success is truly one step at a time, and as someone once said, I think about something totally different. It can be as deliberate a step as guiding a toddler down a long staircase. So this has been a lengthy introduction to today's first guest, Melissa. She is a very good example of what one woman did to finally achieve her goal and has maintained it for 6 years. I am hoping that Melissa's story today will inspire all of us to know that despite our own personal roller coaster histories, a time does come when we can do it. And like W.H. Auden's quote suggests, I think that her agreement to share it will help others on this planet Earth. If you would be interested in sharing your own personal success story with me, or know someone who might, please contact me, Pat Coakley, Coakley, at email pbcsky@gmail.com. I would love to share what others are doing on a daily basis to maintain their weight loss so others can truly see that it can be done. So let's hear from Melissa. All right, okay. We're going. So one of the first questions I wanted to ask you was when you came through the door to Weight Watchers this last time. Tell me how you got to that door and why you walked in it.
Sure. So it was October 2009. And I remember it quite that specifically because another girlfriend of mine, who had also done Weight Watchers more than once and other weight loss things, had said she was going to do it too. And we were coming up on our annual girls' getaway that at that time a group of friends of ours did. And she said, I want to enjoy myself, so I'm going to wait till we come back. And I said, I won't do it if I wait till I come back, or maybe I won't, or I'll come back with more to lose. So I still joined, and it was definitely 1 week, if not 2 weeks prior,
Okay.
And
so you went by yourself to join.
Yeah, and it might be that I believe I did know other people went, whether I didn't go with them in the way that girlfriend and I were going to do. And I don't remember, either she never went or she took quite a long time to go and she took a whole nother path, and it was a long time before she worked on her weight loss as she had said she was going to do that time.
Yeah.
So that's why I remember quite specifically when it was.
Yeah.
So it was October 2009. There was a mixture of things, one of which was coming up on my son's bar mitzvah.
Okay, yeah.
And looking at various photos and things in between my daughter's bat mitzvah and this upcoming bar mitzvah, and looking at pictures where I clearly avoided being in some pictures where I felt I'd look schlumpy, if not fat, or both. And I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do that. And a definite awareness that I felt like crap, emotionally, physically, everything. I said, I'm going back. It's time to go back.
And how many times had you been to Weight Watchers before?
Okay. So I went back leading up to my daughter's bat mitzvah, as I just said.
Mm-hmm.
So 2007, thereabouts, whatever led up to October 2007. And I did lose a good amount of my weight, but I didn't make goal, and I didn't stick with it long after. I forget exactly when. Both children for, quote, baby weight.
Okay.
Leading into my wedding.
Okay.
Various other points, at least 2 other times, just having moved around. When I moved to Connecticut briefly, when our son was firstborn,
okay,
for a job move for my husband. That was not only part of that baby weight, because he was only about 6 months old, but it was one thing I could do when I knew not a living soul in this little town in Connecticut in the middle of the winter.
Okay.
With 2 young kids by myself while my husband worked. Like he'd be on the road, he'd be at work. Okay, what do I do? So that was one thing for me that I could do at that time.
Okay.
So what was that? At least 5 times right there.
Okay.
2 kids, 2 bar mitzvahs. That's 4 total already. A wedding, right? And various things. So at least 5 to 7 times in my lifetime.
How old were you? Do you remember when you first went on a diet, whether it was Weight Watchers or not?
An organized diet plan, it was Weight Watchers, and it would have been, and I got married at 24, so it would have been 23, 22.
Okay. So prior to that, you really didn't have any weight issues?
No, prior to that, I worried about my weight. And I tried the fad diets that lots of teenage girls try.
Yeah.
I think I was headed to the verge of an eating disorder, frankly, in the sense of this worrying about, am I fat? Although I was never skinny, looking back, I clearly wasn't obese or anything at all.
But in your mind,
but all those
worried.
things that go with that. So I remember doing exercise plans and things more than doing diets and reading things in magazines like you do.
Yeah.
17 in Vogue and, all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Calorie counting was big then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weight Watchers has obviously been around my whole lifetime or close to, but
mine too.
I don't know that it would have been trendy then for young people to do it. It was something like your parents did, much older.
Absolutely. Still is, seems to me.
Yeah, but there are some other things like that.
So what was the difference this time? Where you clearly came through the door, which you had been through this door before, but something was different, it sounds to me.
Well, we had a variety of things in our life that changed. We had a business that we lost, or should I say had to close, not to sound melodramatic. We had a house that we lost, or should I say put up for a short sale in the year of my daughter's bat mitzvah. We went through a lot of stuff. Wow. So I think, looking back, I was doing a vast array of soul searching. And time to focus on me, because that's the only way to get through things like this.
Yeah.
So I had the time and the need to not only go to meetings and stuff like that, but to go to the Y. It was like a savior. Long walks were like a savior, And then once you were on a good path, you're like, you know what, I feel much better like this. So it all kind of came together.
So when you walked through, you weren't entirely sure it was going to end up with lifetime goal and years after maintaining, but there was circumstances that was propelling you this time.
I wasn't sure that I had no past experience to be sure that I would stay at lifetime as long as I have so far. But I did have the mindset that this is it. Okay. That I did have.
Yes, okay.
That I did have. And I think it all came together.
Okay. And how long have you been at Lifetime?
6 years. 6 years.
6 years. Now
5.5, whatever. Yeah.
But you do realize, like 98% of folks aren't able to do this.
Well, I think the thing that dawned on me and kept me going is that in that time, I see, one of the questions is, have you gone over, whatever. Right. Of course I've gone over. That's how Lifetime works, because it's the real world. Yeah. But I've never started to totally tank. Whereas in the past, it wasn't even that I would start to tank, but I would sort of get to a point where I assumed I got this. Yeah. I'll wrap it up on my own, or it won't matter. Yeah. And then, of course, then you tank and don't go back. So, in that way, there was just a number of ways that I kept telling myself, I'm not gonna.
Were there things that you did to prevent yourself from tanking that you said, all right, today I'm going to do X because I'm not going to tank?
Yeah, definitely more exercise. Like, okay, and some of it was with the fun stuff, like with the little pedometer and the, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Of okay, I got to get 2,000 more steps.
Yeah.
Let's go for a walk or whatever. So
Yeah.
there was that. There was also some health things that came to pass, which I didn't know when I walked in. So I have lupus.
Okay.
And it's extremely mild, and from what I understand, it can do.
Yeah.
But I really just sort of, like I say, it really all just came together because the exercise was not only to lose weight or keep it off, but to keep a range of motion or an agility.
Yeah.
My joke would be I got to keep moving in case one day I can't.
Yeah.
And that sort of vicious circle of, well, I feel crappy or achy, so I can't exercise. Well, it's no, I better exercise since I feel crappy or achy. And that's with a very mild scenario.
How soon after restarting Weight Watcher
Did I find this out?
did you find this out?
After I'd already reached.
After you'd already reached. Wow.
Yeah.
So how much did you lose to get to lifetime?
My lifetime goal was something like 27 pounds. I was
Okay.
152 pounds when I started.
Yeah.
And I'm only 5'2", so that's a
Yeah.
lot on 5'2".
Yeah.
And that I remember that time. I have started Weight Watchers at more, but I was 152, and I had set my goal at 128.
Yeah.
My party dress weight, as I called it, the day of my son's bar mitzvah,
Yeah.
was 125.
Wow.
And it felt great. It looked great, and I was getting compliments right and left, which
Yeah.
of course
Yeah.
helped the self-esteem after
Yeah.
all these other things had happened.
Yeah.
And you want to nurture that once that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, the key is that it all fits together. It wasn't just one.
Well, that's interesting because it is almost like a perfect storm of events.
And I was 45, going into my 45th year.
Yeah.
So I started October 2009. So 2010, I was 45.
Wow.
So it's all kind of like everything. Like I'm going to take care. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to look better at 45 and feel better.
And I'm not going to do it again.
And actually, it became really important because it was one of the things that let me realize that something wasn't quite right. That we found the lupus. I had been tested for it before from other symptoms and ruled out. And I guess it's a disease that has a lot of false positives first.
Yeah,
That's a common thing.
I've heard that, yeah.
So I was actually at the Y, exercising, whatever, and they had I noticed they had a blood drive, and I said, I should do that. And I had done it before. I went to give blood, and they said, I'm sorry, we can't take you. I was anemic, which I've been before, but not like problematically anemic, just tend to run a little low. I took iron when I was a kid, stuff like that. And whatever it was, I'm trying to remember the scale, but they have a figure that your iron level, they test you first, has to be whatever.
Yeah.
And let's say it was 15, and I was like 10.
So that was
and they
the
suggested, well, here's a list of some things. They've encountered this before. They had a list of foods, and I'm like, well, I live on that food. And exercise, well, hello, I'm here at the Y. Like, it made no sense. I was physically in better shape than ever in my life.
Yeah.
And why was I more exhausted, more achy?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And even with, okay, maybe I overdid it. I was scared back a little. And then it became clear, something's not right here. So I went to the doctor, got referred on, and, so.
But there you go. That could have been an opportunity to fall back.
Yeah, I could have
there.
said, I got to take it easy. I got to rest, which I did learn to rest.
Yeah.
Learning to rest is hard.
Yeah. So are there a couple of things you would say to somebody who had just reached goal about what's ahead of them that they would better to hear right away as opposed to
that it is an adjustment to keep it off in a variety of ways, because if you don't give yourself that permission to say, not I'm in a different place now, I'm all set, but goals change, and, just like what you do for other goals may change, other training, other preparation, etc., right?
Yeah.
You study differently from the bar than you do for an ordinary test? Of course you do.
Yeah.
And you couldn't keep up that pace if you always had to study like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a thing that comes to reach a particular hurdle and then whatever, but that doesn't mean there's not work, right? So things like that. Also, not to listen to the rest of the world, meaning, we're submerged in all these mixed messages that you'll make yourself crazy if you try to listen to everybody else. People will tell you you don't need to do that anymore. You can have what you want.
Yeah.
And people will also, sort of criticize you, but not in so many words.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep it,
distant.
Yeah.
From
And you have to keep it personal.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other reality is that I have worked for the past 9.5 years at a drug and alcohol detox.
Right.
And the more I see and read, and I'm not an alcoholic or an addict myself, although many of my coworkers are, the more I see about parallels to it, whether you literally need OA or not, or that sort of thing. The ultimate question of why are you doing what you're doing in this moment?
Exactly.
So when you're standing in front of the cabinet shoving Oreos in your face, or even if you don't keep that in your house and instead you're shoving fat-free pretzels in your face, sometimes it is because you had a day from hell and you never ate all day and you just realized it and you're famished and it's there, and that's okay because that won't keep happening.
Yeah.
But other times it's because some other emotional or other reason, and and every parallel, you name it. So I did also kind of come to a practice, you have to practice what you preach mode. So even my boss at the detox, before he just left recently, I said something about Weight Watchers. Oh, he brought in bagels from Panera on a Monday. And I said, any other day. Any other day, I'd have a whole one. Forget the half. I'd have the whole one because I didn't have to pay for it, and you got coffee, and this is awesome. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, weigh in tomorrow. And, you know what it was? It was actually a Tuesday morning. It wasn't even the day before.
Yeah.
And he goes, you go to Weight Watchers? And he goes, you've never had a weight problem, have you? And then he said, I don't mean to be rude, I said, well, not like you're thinking. And he's like, well, why do you go to Weight Watchers? I said, I don't know. Why do we tell all our people to go to meetings and to keep coming back? Because I'd like to stay this way. Yeah. and here's someone in the field, years of mental health experience and other things, and he's not connecting dots. And it isn't a matter of addicted in the way, although it can be, but it's not a matter of being an addict literally in that way. Yeah. But it is, feeding feelings and all those other things. And I've come in many times and joked with Roz about, can I take that for work? And, twisted it around. Yeah. So I think, as I said, this time it was really everything coming
eye-opening
together.
In terms of dynamics. It wasn't just an event that you were targeted on. It was yourself.
So I go to my meeting partly because I spend many hours every workday telling people the importance of going to their meetings and finding their home group and getting a sponsor and building a network and not isolating. So I can't not do that if I'm running around telling everyone else to do it. But I also do it because this is what I am doing. I am not going to go to a Weight Watchers meeting. I'm not going to faint if I can't. Yeah. If there was a blizzard. Yeah. If I was sick. Yeah. Everything that's gone. Yeah. Of course, I have had weeks where I didn't go. Yeah. Work changed last minute. But I'm not going to purposely not go.
Have the meetings changed the way you've consumed them since you've been a lifetime? Talk about...
How have I taken in meetings?
Yeah. Do they address your needs? Do you see a difference between your needs losing weight and your needs as maintaining your weight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, definitely at the beginning, but they incorporate a part of every meeting to do that. So one thing I can tell you is, other than the first or second time, when I would go back, other than the times when they made the total change from like points plus came out of nowhere, right? Obviously, I had to learn that like everybody else had to learn that. But looking back, when I went back, I probably didn't treat it like a new thing.
Okay.
right?
That's interesting. Yeah.
I think I went back thinking, I know how to do this. I should have stuck with it, but it's not new.
Okay.
Assuming a lot. Again, I see that in the population I work with all the time. I know what to do. I know. I've been to a million meetings. I've been to detox 10 times. Like, hello, that's the problem. It's not a success, right? I mean, it's good that you're back, don't get me wrong, but I think you're looking at it the wrong way.
Do you follow what Weight Watchers suggests in terms of lifetime? In other words, weighing in only once a month and adding a few points to your plan. Those were the only two things that I ever saw that were directed
at Lifetime.
And I wondered how you handled that.
Not this last time around. I remember having it explained how now it would change, and I think I kept that as like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I've got by all this time without it. I now understand, especially now, although I learned doing it, that the sky won't fall if I have a bad week, bad day, whatever.
Right.
So it was always, that option was there, knowing that was good.
Yeah.
But I didn't purposely say, now I'll eat more.
Okay.
Because I can.
Okay.
There were certainly weeks like, yes, Lifetime, I'm having that extra glass of wine, or I'm having the nachos or something.
Yeah. Are the trigger foods the same today as they were?
Oh, yeah.
6-7 years ago?
And I think I have actually lost more weight, and I am watching it to make sure there's not something going on with the lupus or something like that. I have trust me, I have kicked up the exercise, and that could be doing it. Because I've kicked it up because it feels good, and I have different goals now, like, stupid stuff like my triceps or something, or more laps because a 70-year-old, I don't know if you know this, any of the swimmers. There's this woman, Jerry, she's like shorter than me, which is hard to be, and I wouldn't have thought she was 70, but she is. And I remember her learning to swim, not literally learning to swim, but learning to like pace herself, do laps and stuff. Yeah. And she started doing like these handful of laps, and then she realized, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it right. So she returned with like her own flippers, a snorkel. She's adorable, a real like old-fashioned bathing cap kind of. And one day I said, Jerry, how many laps you been doing? She goes, I'm up to 42. And I'm like, wow. I like bitching and moaning to do my mile, which is 36. And I'm like, okay, I'll just shut up now, So my goals have changed, and included in there is kicking up various exercise, right? So that may be contributing to it. But I have, in the past month, been lower than I thought I would be, and not on purpose. So just the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking, I really need to, two things have happened. I'm looking back, am I eating the right foods health-wise? Yeah. Which I think I am. But I think this is actually a side effect of the change with Oprah, which I wasn't too happy about. This change here, how the points went up? Yes. Particularly on the sort of carby, heavier, fattier things. Yeah. And I don't think it was fats were never my issue, unless it was a special occasion, like let's go out for pizza. It's a given, it's fatty cheese and all that, right? Right. But on a regular triggery kind of thing, it was not the fats, but it was like the carby stuff. Yes. So paying more attention to that and focusing more on the lean protein, I think has unintentionally. Okay. I was just doing it to like be more on with this new program as I understood. It, but so it is kind of interesting. But the short answer in there is that yes, and I'm learning more about my body and the connection. I think informally, not like I've read all this stuff, but sugar is not my friend. Refined sugar is not my friend. Yeah. And the world has been coming to this conclusion for a while. Yeah. I don't feel good. Mentally, physically, it sets me up. So yesterday, for whatever reason, I was like a munchy fiend, relatively speaking. And looking at the calendar, okay, could be PMS, could be that. And then I look back at what I had, and it's definitely once you start with the sweet carby things, you want more sweet carby things. Not, and I don't mean even in that moment, like I can't have 2 cookies, I'm eating the whole bag, which is a different issue. Yeah. It's just,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So
it's
just
an urge.
yeah.
It's not just a mental thing. Yeah.
And at the same time, you have to listen to your body just like I listen to my body. Like, I don't know why, but I really want a hamburger. My body must need iron, something.
Yeah.
It's so the sky's not going to fall. You're not going to weigh and measure your hamburger in wherever the grill. It'll be fine. And partly because I'm at Lifetime, and partly because you learn like I'm not eating a burger every day. That's not a pattern I'm going to suddenly do. So if I have to listen to my body for that, there are other times where I need a little sugar. I need a little whatever. So, but it took a long time, obviously.
So your connection to the scale is not a daily thing or a weekly thing. It's a monthly thing with Weight Watchers?
No, so basically I keep myself that I weigh in once a week, but if I don't, it will be fine.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like when I was trying to lose, I have to weigh in, and do I weigh in, and I don't worry about weighing in quite the same way.
Yeah.
As I said, lately I have been weighing myself a little more because I want to make sure I'm not missing something in the other health direction.
Yeah.
But there have been weeks I've gone and I don't need to weigh in, thus I am not.
Yeah.
But it was my weigh in is more because one thing I know from the past is if I too often don't weigh in, that's when you start to just kind of make excuses. It's just not a good pattern for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's a clear red flag.
Right.
I mean, it couldn't be redder.
As a routine weigh-in only once a month would not work for me.
No.
But the point taken, you can't obsess over it and live that way either. It's about balance.
So have you changed your relationship with the scale as a result of this?
Yeah, because it's more about checking in with myself than having the right number there, and learning a little bit so what would be the change in the relationship? So whether it be for fun, we went on vacation, whether it be stress, my father died. We have Shiva in our house. I can't if I see another sponge cake, I'm going to explode, right? I don't like sponge cake. I just ate half of one. Fairly obvious things, right? Or great work party. I'm not having this food. I'm not paying this caterer, but I'm not going to pass this up either, right? Etc. So at the same time, I would know I would have to be up. How could I not?
Yeah.
The old me would have not weighed in out of fear, guilt, whatever. Now I would weigh in because, I got to check in. Let's get a little reality test.
Yeah.
And the old me, if I hadn't gained as much as I thought or hadn't gained at all, I would have been, sweet, and off. I would have been off to the... So it's not a matter of not weighing in or weighing in. It's what do I think when I weigh in.
Now, you're obviously very thoughtful about this whole process. You're very self-aware. Have you always been self-aware about this? Or did this
Clearly not. This time.
This time you really ramped up the awareness and consciousness of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there were obviously in hindsight patterns I knew and didn't want to address.
Right.
But to this level, no.
Are there fitness toys and tools and stuff that you've gone through, and are there ones that you absolutely still use?
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that because I see some of them even at the Y that have come back around. And I think of past times, even when I was younger, like the wedding time things, and even to some extent high school or college. And I think of how I would buy these things, try them once or twice, and there they would sit in my closet.
Yeah.
A really good example is the roller thing.
Yes.
And I see it at the Y, and I see how some of the big burly guys use it, and not even just them.
Yeah.
But looking back, it's like, what the hell was I thinking? I get that I was thinking abs and it's a motion, but that's what I do in the pool. I don't need that stupid thing. And at the same time, I also set other goals, like I can do push-ups now. I as a kid, didn't do push-ups. I mean, literally, I could do a push-up, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do I need this thing for? On the other hand, I bought a couple weights, absolutely nothing fancy. I don't know, 2 5-pounds, 2 3-pounds, and I use those a lot at the beginning, and they're always around, so I use them from time to time. I had the Weight Watchers videos. I suppose it could have been any other video. I just like these. And I remember not only this time around, because then they would joke about the old time, when I lost weight before Emma's bat mitzvah, and even at another point in there when I went back to Weight Watchers, I switched jobs or something and just felt like I got to do something. And again, lost some weight, but not making goal for lifetime. And my son was still fairly young, so he would come down and see this video and go, "Mommy, are those ladies here again?"
Those ladies here again.
Because he would be like looking at the first video I had was there was this blonde woman with an accent, and she had like a sample class, and there'd be like 5 people behind her doing the exercises, ideally to show that there were multiple ways and you do your own thing, and one might be modifying, and it was really great because even though obviously it was staged, they'd have clearly one woman heavier than the other, they'd have a guy, one is older than the other, right?
Yeah.
And he would come and go, "Oh, those ladies here again." So that became a joke. Like even now, he might come in and say, "Oh, is that lady here? Get that lady out of the living room, Mom." So now I have a different one, but I did it even this morning because I thought it was pouring. I was tired because I stayed up late watching a movie, and I was gonna try to sleep in, but that ship had sailed. So I'm like, well, if I'm up, and it's not worth going to the Y at this point because Thursday's my early morning. So I'll have my coffee, I'll get organized, and I'll do my video. So I did 2 20-minute videos, just like if I went to the Y and worked out for 40 minutes. And I've had these for 6 years.
Forever, yeah.
This video.
So I had wanted to know what kind of support family, friends, work colleagues might have given you through this period, and perhaps what wasn't helpful, even though it may have been well intended.
So I always had support from my husband that came the right way usually. I mean, I never had, like you hear the stories of from him.
Yeah.
You can't have that. And he often might say, "You sure you want to have that?"
Okay.
But that's partly because he knew how Weight Watcher worked. His mother had done Weight Watchers years back. He actually did it as a child. And lost a good amount of weight on it. And then, went on to like puberty, did the rest and stuff like that. So for however reason, his temperament and everything else together, he was able to say something like, "You sure you want to have that?" and not have it come out, "You can't have that." Just like, "Are you thinking through? I wouldn't know if you are or you won't. I don't know what points you have or how many breads you had today or whatever. But right. And I never. I mean, some of it is also I was very fortunate. I never had this. I have to cook for my family a certain way. I'm cooking. You eat what I make. Now that doesn't mean when my daughter went vegetarian or my son had other idiosyncrasies that were not about that. Yes, of course I made different meals for my kids like a lot of parents do and stuff, but not because of that.
Okay.
Here's what we're having for dinner.
Okay.
And it's going to be a thing that I can count if I chose to, and that's my business and whatever. Yeah. So I never had like a lot of that stuff that I hear people talking about in meetings, really, in my immediate household.
Okay.
I never felt I have to buy this for my kids, and maybe I was just lucky enough. If I was buying their lunchbox food, I knew enough that it didn't have to be the exact thing I consider a trigger. So, if I bought it, it's because I bought it and I owned it. You know, I didn't buy Fig Newtons for their lunch. I bought it because, I'm obsessed with Fig Newtons, right? So, whatever. As far as larger family, extended family, it started off a little contentious with my mother-in-law, and then because she had done it, and at one point she went back to Weight Watchers herself. When I lived in that town in Connecticut, she came and stayed with me. She came and stayed with us for a month. And again, my son was 6 months old, and we moved to I went from living up the street to my mother to living 2 hours from my mother and not knowing a soul. So she came and stayed with us for a month. And my friends would be like, "Are you kidding me?" I'd be like, "Are you kidding me? I'm so lucky because, I have help, I have whatever." Yeah. So she had joined Weight Watchers. So we actually went to Weight Watchers together once a week for the month she stayed with us. And then we would go out for breakfast afterwards because we could, and we would count our stuff. So that I was actually very fortunate in that way. My mother, on the other hand, having had the total issues with food is love kind of stuff.
Okay.
In the little martyr thing of all the things you've heard in meetings before. I worked so hard to make this for you, etc.
Yeah.
And probably in there, in fairness to her, a genuine, like, you're not fat. What are you worried about? Like,
Okay. Yeah.
have what you want.
Yeah.
All mixed together,
Yes.
you know.
Okay.
But I think my mom was a good example of some of the stuff that you see, like whenever you change something in your lifestyle or you make a big decision, the people around you have to look at theirs, whether you mean them to or not, and they're not always going to like it. So there were definitely times when, and we came right out and told her so due to health reasons and other things, my mom needed to lose weight for a long time and different periods of time. And she wasn't going to own that, and she would say, like, oh, I don't eat that much, or I just had one Klondike bar, or, you know, all these things.
Yeah.
So it was easier for her to say, you know what I mean? So I had, with my mother, I had all those things.
Yeah.
With my mother and father and a household, like my father was not like that. It wouldn't be his intention or his demeanor at all. My father loved food. My father fed his feelings. He was not an addict and alcoholic. I think I saw him drunk twice, my wedding and my sister's wedding. And, you know, so this is not his thing.
Yep.
But he had to put his work stress, his life stress, his sorrows, and was his thing. He was an eater. That's what he did. And then the ethnic thing. So those were things that weren't helpful, but they were different from the malicious or the nasty or the just not thinking.
Yeah.
It was more culture, maybe is a better word.
Do you see yourself in your children's eyes now? They've seen you deal with this faithfully year after year after year now in their very formative years themselves. What impact do you think it has had on them?
I think on some level, a good one, meaning that they see I have stuck with something and this is just my lifestyle. I think because of other issues my daughter's been through, it gets hard at times. And I'm sure it's in her face a little bit, and I try to, you know, it's a tough dance to do. Like, I'll go with you, but I can't do it for you. And then I know I have not always delivered the message the right way. You know, probably more of my mother's comments than I would have liked, despite my behavior being otherwise, you know. But as far as seeing that I'm not giving up, I'm not going, I'm not weighing in if there's no reason to not weigh in.
Right.
Do with that what you will, but that's what I'm doing. And so I, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because it seems to me that with a family and with formative kids, when you deal with a problem, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever, right.
And you consistently deal with it, day in and day out, months, weeks, years, that it rubs off. Maybe not right immediately.
Well, that's my hope. I mean, that's the hope you do as a parent lots of times, right?
Yeah.
I hope, you know, when the time comes and they're burying me, I hope they're going to remember this, that, and the other. And, you know.
Yeah.
Part of it is, I should add in there that my husband went to Weight Watchers 2 years ago. And there's a big example of everyone will say to me, and they've said to, oh, I never thought of you as fat. And then they catch their words. Oh, I never thought of you as that big or having, but then they have said, like good friends, you know, who had said, you know, now that I think of it and I see how like thin or whatever you are now, I guess there was a difference, you know. And even looking at pictures from my daughter's and son's bar mitzvahs to and now, like, obviously a big difference.
Yeah.
And the thing that's interesting is that in the scheme of Weight Watchers and people struggling to lose a lot of weight, I mean, I lost, 30 pounds? And he lost, 40, 45 pounds? Which is a lot, but we know how much other, you know, people have to lose over time.
Yeah.
And the reality that was as much a struggle or as big a struggle for me. And it took, you know, how many times to keep off, not to lose, but to keep off?
How long did it take you to...
this time?
Yeah, to get the 30 pounds.
6 months, I think. What is it, October to May? Or October to May?
October to May. Okay, so that's actually a straight shot.
Right, whereas in the past, you know, get so far and bail.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because you're focusing on the amount Like, it's not that much. I ought to be able to do it myself, as opposed to the patterns and the stuff that make it obvious that you couldn't do it, you know?
Did things happen, or did you experience things that you hadn't anticipated?
Now that you mentioned, there are a couple little things that I think lead me back to that idea of how you think about yourself and acceptance and what's it really all about. So, for example, we've talked about in meetings about that idea of not having to just settle for what fits.
Yeah.
And, did you hate shopping for clothes and things like that? Well, I never expected that I would have a problem finding clothes small enough. And I have still, whether it's body image stuff left over, whether it's society or all of the above, I have to wear like a size 2 apparently.
Yeah.
And what are you going to sound like a moron complaining about that?
No.
But then I was like, I didn't expect that to be hard. In my head, this was in plenty. This is what most people were wearing. And now I'm like, I go to even the petites, and I'm pissed because at Kohl's they don't have size 2 petite. I found these jeans, these stupid, very typical Gloria Vanderbilt jeans that seem to be particularly big over at Kohl's, right?
Yeah.
And I have this blue pair that I love. And I'm shocked enough when I still look at the tag and it says a 4 short, because I remember when an 8 was my goal. So I actually have found myself asking people, do you think they changed the sizes? Like, why can't I just believe that I now take this small size? And why is it such a big deal? It's just the size I am. I worked hard and that's the size I am.
So, if I understand you correctly, it's not just that you can't find things that you want in your size. It's just that size seems to surprise you or sort of irritate you in some way.
Well, it's like I can't believe it.
Okay.
And it's, I guess it's more of awareness that there's still always more going on at the helm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you say, someone compliments you and says, I like your shirt. And this whole thing, why can't we just say thank you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you think would be helpful to someone who's struggling with this or has reached their goal and is going to be coming across this interview at some point?
I think the idea of, which is central in all of like Roz's meetings in particular and stuff like that, and has always been, however it looked, a mantra of Weight Watchers through the years, that it's not a diet. I think that concept of that it's not a diet, that whatever metaphor you want to use, life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Life is not a dress rehearsal, whatever cliches you want to use, that is probably the most fundamental thing to wrap your head around, whether it be in this case weight loss or, like I said, other hurdles or whatever, because that whole idea, I've got there, I'm done, I'm good now, doesn't usually end well in a variety of areas, and in this case, weight, right? So that's, I'd say, the biggest.
Okay.
Yeah. The other stuff that you had on here, I noticed you had stuff about, like, did you ever try other weight loss plans and things like that?
Yeah.
It occurred to me, I did try, not when I was young, like high school and stuff, but I did try at one point, which one was which? I want to say it was the diet workshop.
Oh yeah, I
never tried so some part of me knew, and maybe because I had already done Weight Watchers younger, but I never did try stuff like a Nutrisystem, a Jenny Craig. I probably thought about it for about 10 minutes every so often, but deep down I knew that wasn't my issue.
Your thing. Okay.
And I knew that would just be a fairly expensive way to get weight off and not quite know. And maybe if I'd had way more weight to lose, just like some people look for help with a doctor or other processes if you have serious weight, maybe I would have. I don't know. So whatever I thought I had to lose for weight, I guess I didn't think I had to lose that much weight. But my big message would be that on some level, we're a little screwed by society in the sense and I've actually used these at work to try to start groups and discussions that we have to run about how, whether it be addiction or other things, you have to really work hard against mixed messages. So if you ever look at the most popular benign magazines, not even a Vogue, where obviously they're putting an emaciated model on the front or something, right? But you look at Family Circle, and I've done this every year, I find at least one. It will have a giant, delicious something that's sinful. The best looking cake, the best looking cookies, and it will say, something about that amazing thing, and then it will have in the corner, lose weight without work. And on the same issues that's pushing this giant cake to say, lose 10 pounds in 1 week.
Yeah.
So
the mixed message, that's a very good point. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for this. I've always noticed in the meetings that you have quality responses and an energy to your responses that I don't always see in some of the lifetime members. So for whatever, I'm very happy that you brought it here.
Thank you. I'm appreciative to be asked.
Okay.
That was really kind of fun. And these are good questions. I don't know if you ever think of like talking about that with others, I think the more info you get,
well, that's why I'm doing this, really, because for some reason or other we've sort of cracked a code that 98% of people have not, and I have to believe that there are other people like us out there that don't use the communication or don't get written about or don't get shared, and maybe if we do it, more people will know how. So, anyway, thank you very much. All right. So, hey, nothing blew up, so that's good. My thanks to Melissa again, and if you would like to share your own personal success story with me or know someone who might, please contact me, Pat Coakley, at email pbcsky@gmail.com. I would love to share what others are doing on a daily basis to maintain their weight loss so others can truly see that it can be done. See you next week.